I think we are live. Hi there. Hi, everyone. This week on Experts in AI, I'm hosting Dr. Beril Sırmaçek. She would like to introduce herself. Normally, I'm introducing, but she thought it may be easier for me. So I
It's
give you
easier for you, and I speak a lot normally.
yeah,
Just
I was
stop me if I take over the show.
it's okay.
You
You
got
can
all the rights to do that.
you can also complain about anything, literally anything. In your job, you can complain about your students. I give a platform for women to women in
I
AI.
can't complain about my students.
If you want to, last week, 2 weeks
Which
ago, we
one? From which
entertained.
one should I start now? It's going to be a long show. No, I love all of them. That's yeah. Forget you didn't hear anything. So I'm Beril. I'm working. Cancel delete. I'm working in the field of computer vision and AI. And my PhD was on remote sensing. So I'm still working on remote sensing data, which means images coming from satellites or flying airplane cameras, looking at larger environment. And you can do a lot with computer vision methods and also with power of AI these days to recognize things automatically. And I'm so interested to look at earth sciences, what's going on in our planet, like how the vegetation is behaving with the climate change. Are we getting healthy crops or are they in danger? How to help our people to design maybe agriculture or cities better to prevent heat islands and to prevent our crops from heat waves. Well, we are having it all summer these years. So I'm so interested to help our planet in times of climate change with these methods that we have. But other than that, the applications themselves, I'm super curious to find new mathematical algorithms to extract local features from data that we can develop maybe better robust algorithms when our sensor changes, when our environment conditions like light, snow, earth cover seasons change, can we still make robust detection with our algorithms? So I'm looking at those. My work experience has been mostly in academia and also some research labs, or I shortly worked in German Aerospace Center after my PhD. And afterwards, I started working at TU Delft in the Netherlands. I worked at University of Twente. And I'm still sitting in the Netherlands, but I'm teaching at a Swedish university called Jönköping. It's nobody knows how to pronounce it. I'm so proud I can tell. So I'm teaching AI machine learning courses there with COVID situation remotely. So that's it. I'm super excited to hear questions.
So I was actually going to ask you about the challenges in your work mostly. By the way, I have met with this guy. I mean, he was in Texas, I guess. I'm a Google developer expert, and I met this guy who was working on banana diseases and he was doing doing it with UAVs, I guess, with drones. He was taking photographs and then trying to detect if banana diseases exist and which one actually exists. So that reminded me of it.
That's so cool. Yeah.
So I have so many questions. So firstly, how did you get involved with computer vision, remote sensing, and everything? What was your drive initially?
Yeah, before starting to my PhD, I was already eager to work in the field of computer vision because I thought it's super exciting that you can make machines see not only think, but also see the environment. Then you can judge the environment more and make more clever algorithms, given some results, understanding what's going on around like the human can see. I'm also super visual person. I do artwork, painting, like stuff. I also found it somehow relevant to look at visual data, not sound data, text data, but I want to play with images. And but image processing is a big area. Computer vision, especially, a very big area. You can work on remote sensing data. You can work on medical images. You can work on dermatologic images, and there are so many things you can work on. What are you going to work on in the field of computer vision? So that was the biggest question when I was starting to my PhD. And my supervisor, I was so lucky. He was very conscious about how to direct a student who has such a confusion in her mind. He suggested me a few topics like 3D reconstruction and detecting some things from a sensor network and using satellite data, which was also his PhD study. So it was relevant to him also. And he suggested me a few topics, but not only that, when he suggested those topics, he also told me that these are key people who are working in this field, and they are publishing a lot. They are doing leading research in this field. Go check their website and go check what these people are doing, where they are working, just whatever you can find on Google about these people, and think whether you like their life or not. I mean, you can never know their private life, what where they are living, what kind of car they are driving. You can never know such information, but you can still sense whether they work in a factory environment or in a laboratory, whether you see them mostly going at conferences or mostly staying in one place and developing there only. So you can such guess what kind of life these key people are having. So I just used my imagination and Google search and also writing to those people. Some of them answered to me and I had more ideas about what they are doing. And I tried to get a sense of if I really become a person who is working in one of these fields and doing good research, what kind of life I would have, and which one of them is the most suitable to me, which one of them I want. So I see that some people don't like, for instance, aerospace center, looking at satellites turning around and sending data, big data. It's you have to process a lot to open them. Ridiculous, boring work. So some people look at like that. And some people look at satellite data, satellites and Earth observation center like, wow, that's I can spend all night without sleeping just looking at this data and give me more data. I want to do more research on this data. So it's people have different interests, and he let me discover my own interest by looking at what these people are doing in those fields. And I like what remote sensing people are doing. I contacted them also to the key people that he suggested me. Some people answered. And I really decided that it's really nice lifestyle and nice research field. I want to study in the field of remote sensing as well. So that's how I dived into, and it merged with many passions of mine together. I mean, I've been always an environmental activist all my life. And well, now I'm looking at environment with my data and all the time thinking about what kind of new thing I can do, which also matches with my life purpose. Then it gives me passion to continue.
That's actually amazing because like I'm also super confused. I just began my master's. I already started like writing papers, but like our drive is kind of same. Like I watched the movie Her, and then I was like, I don't know if you have watched it. There is this conversational agent. Scarlett Johansson basically voices her, and there is a guy who fell in love with her. So like I was like, I want to do talking machines. I mean, I'm always is that how they. I wanted to investigate how they understand us actually, like in what sense they actually understand us. So like after that, like I started working on natural language understanding, and it's actually great as you have as you've said, like it makes us see from a more objective place, in my opinion. Like for instance, like we have biases, like we have bias problem in natural language processing where like there is sexism, racism, etc. So like I kept doing it, but like currently I'm in a place where I don't know if I want to like go in this domain anymore. Like would I ever get bored, or would I love to work in computer vision because it's actually an awesome area. So I also get you when you say, like some people may not enjoy remote sensing data, looking at the earth all the time. I mean, I get excited. I would get excited, in my opinion, to observe how we look from, like somewhere in an upper place. So like that's really nice. And you were actually like lucky because like I don't really have a mentor like this, so I don't really know what to do.
Yes, I was super lucky. I always keep saying I hit to a lottery with my PhD supervisor, and it was a nice experience. I wish everybody finds some guides on their path. Either it's a supervisor or someone you just met somewhere could change your life. And well, we also need to look at everyone as our teacher. What can I learn from this person? Even if it's a bad experience, we learn something from it. We
Yeah,
learn.
there is always something to learn from everyone, and we should never. Oh, Lawrence is here. By the
Oh,
way,
really?
has lost
Hey, Lawrence. Very nice to see you. It
Lawrence has
must be
lost
very
one of
early there.
relatives. So like I asked him, would you like to join us? And he was like, I lost one of my relatives. So like I was like, I'm very sorry about it. I'm again very sorry about it, Lawrence. But like it's very kind of you to actually join us today.
Hi, Lawrence. Welcome. Thanks for joining. I wanted to say something. You said you cannot decide whether you want to continue with NLP or do some computer vision. I say, why not choose both? I mean, you don't need to decide either this or that. You can combine things and create something new. Why not a computer vision can tell you if bananas have specific disease or not, and you can tell, or the user can tell, no, I don't agree with your decision. Then do a reinforcement learning, which learns from the speech feedback, doing NLP, and retrains the algorithm to learn better and do better disease classification next time. So if you know NLP, you're one step ahead from me to do this application.
I was planning that I am going to make my master's thesis on image to text. Like, there was paper of Fei Li, I guess. Like, it basically tells you what is on the paper. Like there is this man on the chair. There's a cat on his lap. Like writes the story of the visual. So like I also like that was in the back of my mind, but like I'm really glad that you actually said it.
And
So we have
also, there
another.
are people who are not able to see well
Yeah.
or speak well the other way around. So combining things would also create very helpful applications, I believe.
There is another question. Um,
Yes. Yes, my advisor was Cem Ünsalan indeed. Yeah. And very funny, I'm still publishing with him. I mean, after
Yay.
maybe 12 years after. Yeah.
That should be awesome to, do something with your mentor, So you also work in like medical imaging, as far as I observed. I mean, you work in very different areas. I mean, how don't you ever get divided? Because like in AI, you need to keep up with the state of art in different areas. Like for instance, like you are working on 3 different problems. As far as I saw, you do 3D reconstruction, you do medical imaging, you also work on I mean, that's kind of in 3D reconstruction, but like you work on navigation of robots with, I saw this paper. I was very impressed. Using SLAM and reinforcement learning in the same time. And what else? There was this one more thing I can't remember. You also do, like crowd detection.
Yeah.
I've read a news about you that says you have developed this algorithm because there was this festival of law in Germany and people died.
Well, I think in 2009 or 2010, I'm not pretty sure. There was a festival, as you said, in Germany, Love Parade, and there were people who died, unfortunately, because of very dense crowd on the street. They were passing under a tunnel, I think. So many people pushed each other towards the tunnel, and some of them died. And that time, I was working at German Aerospace Center, and we had requests from police departments to develop an algorithm to tell the density of a crowd when we look from above images, either street cameras or a flying airplane with low altitude airplane to observe the area. So that time I used my passion of feature engineering and developed some features which detect individual people on the street, which look like people, and also using more computer vision techniques to check whether they've got a shadow next to it. Is it appearing on the street or not, making some probability methods within. And finally used again some probability theory to give some indication of how many person within a square meter I see in this area, and if it's above a threshold that police put, it gives exact geo coordinate of that position immediately. Later on, we implemented this on low altitude flying airplane of DLR, German Aerospace Center, to make it work real time. So if there's an event happening, we could give the exact location of where it's becoming dense or not. And I've done further publications on predictive models to tell if maybe we don't see a crowd, but there will be a crowd maybe a few minutes afterwards. If you see people walking towards a specific point, you can estimate at which time you will see a dense crowd in a location, and which location is it. So we also developed some predictive methods to tell where we expect to see crowd, so maybe they can prevent it before it becomes denser. We tested the algorithm on Oktoberfest and because La Parade already passed, and that didn't happen luckily the same way again. But it's been maybe 10 years from that time, and I didn't work furthermore on crowd detection. It was a sort of completed project that time. And this year I started to receive a lot of emails from people all around the world. Oh, you've done crowd detection. How did you do that? Can you help us? How did you do crowd detection? With COVID, I would never expect that happen. With COVID, a lot of people tried to develop methods to identify whether people come closer on the street and identify them. So I would never think about this kind of application that time. But yeah, if you develop something, sometimes it's used in other fields as well. This is also sort of what happened in medical area. I got no medical background, obviously, but I've seen my feature extraction methods, 3D reconstruction methods, and AI methods could also be used in identifying skin disease lesions, learn what stage of the cancer, if it's a cancer on the skin. So I developed algorithms because why not? I mean, I've seen the relation between images and what the power of computer vision and AI can do together. And I had opportunity when I was working at University of Twente. We had more medical applications there. So I helped my colleagues, hopefully, to develop some prototypes which have been tested at University Radboud in the Netherlands. And I hope the methods are going to be developed further to make more suggestion or helping decision tools to doctors. In medical area, the most difficult thing is, of course, getting data. As everybody knows, because of privacy, it's a difficult field to develop AI methods. With earth sciences, we find it easy. We've got a lot of satellite data for free. But in medical field, it's difficult to get patient data. But there's also another challenge, the validation data. With remote sensing, everybody agrees this is a road, this is a person, this is a bridge, this is a tree. Everybody agrees with that. But in medical data for validation, one doctor says this is cancer stage 3, the other doctor this is 4, another doctor says this is not cancer at all. So how do you train with any algorithm with such a noisy data? And how do we know whether we are improving the algorithms or not? I think these are still open questions.
So I prepared some questions because I didn't want to cut you off, but did you come across any unpredicted situation in the online inference of your crowd detection algorithm, or anything when you deployed it? Did it go as expected?
Well, we didn't deploy the final algorithm openly, so that things are written on papers, but final working project is, of course, within DLR, so it's not something to share. But I had 2 job application invitations that time, which were not seemed ethical to me, and it seemed
it
like
was about surveillance, crowd surveillance.
yes, crowd surveillance, but it seemed like it's in favor of one side and disadvantage of the other side. And I don't want to be involved with projects which I don't find ethical.
Yeah, there's a lot of site there are many ways of surveilling people. I've read that they are doing gait analysis on people to see, to forecast if there is going to be any violence, if people are getting in fights or not. And what else? They are also reading lips of the people, because in CCTVs you cannot record, but they are developing VSM algorithms to see what people are actually talking. And this is completely against the democratization and everything, because imagine if only like the states and like the authorities have access to those algorithms. So like, yeah, also when the police brutality events popped in United States, some of the companies cut the projects of crowd surveillance, computer vision projects. They block the access to the government, I guess. So like, yeah, I wouldn't actually want that as well. I mean, if it would be offered to me. So yeah, that's a
You
nice.
might be doing the same thing, but what's the purpose behind it? We have to ask the question. Is it protecting all people together, or is it taking advantage of some and giving advantage to another? You can use lip detection or lip reading algorithm for both purposes, either to help you to communicate with somebody with other language or somebody who cannot speak here, and you can again use the same algorithm for disadvantage, maybe to make a case against you and stuff. So it's the same algorithm, but what's the purpose behind using the algorithm? I want to always ask what is the purpose behind. With crowd detection we did in Germany, the purpose was to protect whoever it is. And if the same algorithm is going to be used for dividing people, then I don't want to be involved.
Like in some countries, there is people the right to assemble, I guess. Like, people are going to assemble and do protests and everything. Like, it's not there, like, for instance, in China. And like, your algorithm can be like something that could have been used against, like, used for this. But they are probably doing it because there is many smart policing applications in China, as far as I know, like, reading lips or surveilling people, like with remote sensing data and everything. So like, yeah, it's actually important to ask. And yours was quite fair. Yours had quite fair reason to be applied, and that was a nice thing. So another thing, how accurate are computer vision algorithms in medicine? Can they be deployed in like for like assistive measures, and like to what extent, like how can we trust them? What are the challenges in their large scale use?
I know some people who are working in the cancer department and they have to use this radiotherapy. And before using radiotherapy, they have to give the 3D coordinates that they are going to target with radio light in order to kill the cancer cell. If they cannot target the right 3D location in the body, they can target another healthy organ, then they kill cells which shouldn't be killed and miss the cells which should be killed. And this requires a very high resolution CT scan beforehand. And the patient is going through a CT scan. You've got layer, which makes complete 3D when you combine all the layers. But there's a radiologist who sits more than 8 hours a day and only draws boundary of the tumor at each layer. And these boundaries combined and makes a 3D tumor construction altogether. And then the another day, patient can go and get the radiotherapy. This has to be done. But the radiotherapist who's done all the education in this field is spending 8 hours a day drawing a border. This
Basically
is
a data
ridiculous.
annotator, I mean.
And first of all, this man should use his time differently. He could help to more patients with his education. He could help to other new people who are educated in this field by being a speaker, like I'm doing here. He could speak to teach other people how to do things. He could write paper. He could go to conferences. And maybe he could teach other people preventive approaches to not to go through these procedures. But he cannot do any of them. He cannot even go to his home at time, only drawing the borders. And why not? We can automate things with machine learning AI, which can detect borders with quite good accuracy. Of course, there are layers which are missed, maybe some inaccurate layers. It takes only 10 minutes of the doctor to go through all the layers and do small correction on what is wrong in the AI process. Then 8 hours reduced to 10 minutes. He's got more joy at work. He's got more time to help more people. Other people who's got also cancer are not waiting for radiotherapy all days in the queue. They could get a response faster from hospital. So it's nothing about replacing a doctor with an AI like something. AI is not a doctor. It's not able to see, think, but it's a tool. Why not give better tools to this person to do the job easier, faster?
I also believe in the using AI for assistive use basically in medicine, because like basically, for instance, in NLP we cannot build autonomous things because it lacks common sense, for instance. So like the for the medical data as well, it may cause a challenge. It lacks common sense, but that's a very good use case, by the way. Like, I really liked it. Also, I read your paper on like 2.5 dimension medical imaging. Was that one you were talking about? Because I have seen layered CT scans there as well.
Exactly.
So it's all in the feature engineering, I guess, right?
Feature engineering and training AI to do better semantic segmentation, and finally making 3D model with a little bit more purification. So these 3D models could be given to maybe radiotherapist to give to machine so it can target tumor. And again, these methods are not working with 100% performance, but they work quicker. And it's much easier to doctor to do slight changes manually on it instead of labeling things by hand, which is still done in 2020 right now. That's unfortunately.
I mean, by the way, let me get us a little widened. I mean, there is no
nice.
harm.
We were sitting together, but yeah, a little bit social distancing. Wash your hands also. You came too close.
So like there is no harm done with with these kind of things. You were already, the opportunity cost of a doctor doing it is doing it for 8 hours. I mean, there is no harm done, so why not? How do you work with, how do you tackle like the data scarcity in medical data? Because like the data sets are, as you have said, very, very small. And the validation, I mean, that's very hard. Especially for skin lesions, by the way, because like as far as I know, in dermatology, you cannot basically you cannot estimation of it is very, very hard. So like
we get spoiled at some point. We developers become really so spoiled at some point. We always ask for better data. Why don't you send me better data, high resolution data? You got tools. Why don't you get better CT scans and better input to my network? Then I can give better accuracy to you. But the real world is not like this. So I think we have to also judge a little bit ourselves as data scientists or computer vision scientists, programmer, whatever you call yourself or ourselves. I'm not sure what should I call myself, but something scientist. We should judge ourselves that we should look at the world with real eyes, taking the glass of.
But I mean, when you get a CT scan, you don't see the unique identifier of that person, for instance. Then why would it cause harm? I always question this because it's already anonymized
Oh,
data.
with the identical, yeah, you're right. You cannot identify a person by looking at his tumor, but still it's personal data called, and these are the written rules, unfortunately. But what I wanted to say is, for instance, in underdeveloped countries, there's no CT scan even. CT scanner is super expensive, and you cannot get it into all hospitals. It's not possible to finance, and still most of the hospitals are using ultrasound to identify such things within the body. And ultrasound data is much more noisy. It's much more difficult to understand where is the border starting, where is the border ending. And it requires more cleaning or more learning from data, whatever. So instead of all the time asking for better resolution data, better data as input to give better results, maybe we should change our minds and accept that there's worse data on the earth, and we still need to process it if we really want to be helpful. And why people don't share data, I think we scientists may be a little bit more advertise what things we can do and try to little change the rules. These are hospital rules. They cannot give away the patient data, even though you cannot identify the person identity by looking at the tumor itself. But this is the hospital rule. They cannot drill it. So maybe we have to speak more, show more examples of what things we can do. Maybe the rules will change a little bit.
Yeah, I get it. I totally get it. But I wanted to develop AI for medical applications. Like, why not automate and help people. I studied industrial engineering in Yeditepe, but I have done I had this simulation class, and I've done this in an emergency service in Istanbul, Fatih Sultan Mehmet University Hospital, and there was a huge queue of people, and if it actually happened in COVID, then it would get widespread. Like, if you go there totally healthy, you would get some disease. So I was talking, I thought to myself, this could be way more easier if we could actually help doctors. Plus, doctors over there were diagnosing people wrongly, because there are hundreds of people, as if about Markov chains, you probably do, and the arrival time of the people, the more people arrive, and the process time of the doctors gets really short. So there is a queue over there. It's all a vicious cycle. And there is a violence out there against doctors because they have diagnosed wrongly. So maybe if we could, I mean, in Turkey, they basically get in fight with doctors. Have you heard about that? They kill doctors because a doctor diagnosed wrongly or did nothing sometimes. So we could make it even more easier for them. So it was an idea that came to me, because these people sacrifice a lot from their time in the ERs and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, why not? Then I came across this thing.
But the developers are also in danger when the algorithm doesn't give good accuracy. I would be just shut down.
Liability is a huge thing in AI. I mean, it also applies for the self-driving cars and everything. There needs to be regulations specifically developed for these cases. Like, are we going to be to be judged if a person dies? But like for obvious confidence levels and obvious obvious what do they call it, diagnosis, it can be assistive in the doctor's decision process, in my opinion, but it still cannot give the final decision. Of course it shouldn't. So like, yeah. There is a question. I have seen that you are working on robotics as well. What are the projects and topics you are working on robotics?
Yeah,
I can
in
answer
the
that, by the way.
in
I
the
have
field of
become a fangirl.
in the field of robotics, again, I looked at images, of course, to understand environment and make object recognition and 3D reconstruction, which are also used for path planning with power of AI and reinforcement learning for robotics to find the optimal path to reach to any target. So you can recognize target and recognize the environment from cameras and know what kind of structure you have around you, know what are the walkable or travelable areas that you can drive or fly your drone or ground robot, whatever, and what is the optimal path to reach to your target from your current position. You can train algorithms which can design optimal paths. These are projects which I've been involved indeed.
I also saw some, I think it was some sort of a swarm optimization. You were working on the multi-path planning.
Mm-hmm.
I
We
mean, I
made
always
a
get amazed by those
demonstration
works.
on agriculture field, and agriculture fields are super big. It's super difficult for people to land walk and check each point. And we are in times of climate change. We want to identify what's going on in the field for food security of all of us. And why not? It's could be an idea to use multiple drones to reach to multiple positions to check whether they need water or they've got some strange disease or not. So it's swarms could also benefit from path planning, because you can also calculate how many swarms you need for optimal arrival of the to treat the whatever situation it is. You can use the algorithms to either optimize the number of drones or optimize the path that you have.
I really liked your sense of AI for social good, actually. Like, I am also someone like this, but I don't know if I have the gut to, work on something like this, like developing something for the good of the people, prevent climate change and everything. What are the other use cases where we use AI in climate change? Because like I never investigated it, I guess, and I'm really curious right now.
I'm too curious to use explainability methods to explain what we are doing to our planet in our cities, in rurals, or whatever. We are living so unconscious about the resources that we are using. We just open the tap and the water comes, open the heating up, it's heating up. We never think about where this energy is coming from, how it's circulating, where it's going. We just bin the rubbish to the trash and put it in front of the door. Somebody gets it, pulls it away somewhere, away from my home. Okay, it's done. But where is it going? And how long can we still continue doing this? This cannot go this way forever. Unfortunately, there will be days when we open the tap, there's no water. Maybe making the heating up or down, and you are not able to control it like you do right now. I hope we don't see that, but unfortunately, not very good news. Climate change will bring such situation to us. Understanding what we are doing, what resources we are using, and how, with maybe explainable AI methods, would be eye-opening to see whether we can change our activities, daily activities, do them in different way in order to optimize also our lives in the changing world.
I've heard that, like, today my friend just told me that, they are currently selling water as a commodity, like petrol, they started it in the Wall Street. That's really horrifying. I'm also like someone who has concerns about it because, like, I'm from Gen Z, and I have to think about my future. Like, whenever I open the tab, I close it for my grandchildren at least. I mean, maybe I will see those days. I hopefully won't, but how would the futures be to, develop a project like this? Like, would it be like human behavior? Then how are we going to, develop the features, get the data? What do you think about it for, an explanatory analysis for the climate change and what we are doing to the planet?
There's a lot of data available. We are all carrying smartphones with a lot of sensors on it. We are wearing smartwatches. We've got all other sensors around, uncountable. Only in small house environments, you've got so many sensors collecting data all day, every day. We've got data collecting devices on streets, in supermarkets, from satellites. And the question is not how to find data, how to find good data or not. The data is already there. And the question is which data is useful and for which purpose we can use it for our good benefit. And whenever we need more specific data for any specific attention, why not we can ask people to crowdsource this. If for instance, if I'm developing something only for this region, and if it's difficult to find it, why not collaborate with people and collect some crowdsourced data? Even such things are very easy these days.
You are totally right, but like what I thought was like, it must be so noisy to gather all this data and, like explaining each feature and everything. That must be a overwhelming work. But I mean, as AI people, we never run away from challenges. So
No. I mean, you will ask people to send pictures of diseased plants in their backyard, and you will see in your database people submitted their cat picture in the house. That's sometimes just human nature. Maybe they want to challenge the algorithm. They want to just try whether somebody is having fun or not, or they are having fun by doing that. And there will be also noise from different sensors. I mean, maybe not their mistake. They've got either some motion noise, or their sensors will be different from all different devices. We will have different focus, different lighting, different resolution data. You're right. The data science is always a challenging job, and the most challenging job of data scientists is to clean data, always clean up the data. And
right now, like,
there's no a shortcut to this that I know of.
I'm actually happy to see someone that actually cares about the environment right now, because, like, for instance, in my field, companies have started to develop these gigantic algorithms that actually damage the environment very much. I don't know if you heard, but like there was this paper of Emma Struble. I think she's from Canada. She has made this paper that analyzes the carbon emissions by training one language model like GPT-2. And it turned out that it was consuming total lifetime of 5 cars carbon emission it released training one GPT-2. And normally if you were to train it on one computer, it would be 27 years. And we fine tune it and we use it, we do inference and everything. And NVIDIA basically says that, the environmental damage that comes from these models are actually, 80% of them are in the inference rather than the training.
Yeah.
And they have released this gigantic model called GPT-3 that would cost that would take 355 years to train. I can't imagine, how many. It's only released as an API, so it only does inference, and it is hosted by Microsoft. And if this trend goes on, it's not really responsible towards the environment.
Definitely.
The planet.
I'm thinking we should need some licensing, like something. We should give climate CO2 license to maybe some certain labs that they first submit a proposal why they need to train something, then they get a license to train something. Like we should make some rules on that, I believe. And secondly, there's always a word in the field of developers. Keep it simple, stupid. It sounds cool to train something 18 hours or 8 years. Sounds cool, but if you can solve it with simple either graph theory or probabilistic method or something statistics, maybe you can write a few lines of old traditional methods. Doesn't sound very maybe cool words these days. SVM, statistics, and you want to use always some cool GANs behind it, like the coolness of the name. Then you can get more citations. But we should keep it simple and just train things responsibly. Yeah.
There was this guy who, in NLP, we have language models that are called with, Sesame Street names and everything. And there was
you explained it very, very good on your blog. I've seen that.
Thank you.
Yeah, please put the link somewhere below.
Thank you. It was I hope that I will make it as a series later. I just have no time. But there was this guy who released this paper called Single Head Attention RNN, and RNN is kind of old-fashioned when you consider the language models Sesame Street, and he was mocking transformer models and Sesame Street characters while saying that, I can actually solve this problem with a single head attention RNN. Then why are we using these transformers, transformers by means of, the Autobots and Megatron and everything, because it's fancy. But he was like, I am in my San Francisco apartment and my computer is heating it up and it's already hot outside. So it's actually a greater challenge to give the ability to to the machine with a smaller and more explainable thing. Like, for instance, we have decision trees, which are obviously more explainable and better than neural networks, in my opinion. By domain, in the domain of tabular data, for instance. But people I call this cutting a bread with a lightsaber. You're cutting the bread with a lightsaber instead of a bread knife, if you can use simpler stuff rather than just
exactly
training with neural networks, gigantic models and everything.
Exactly.
We are all responsible, in my opinion. Just because you have clusters doesn't mean you need to use them. So like, yeah, I just wanted to let it out because like I actually have this platform to let out things. Like I hosted 2 weeks ago, I hosted Fatma Güney. You may know her. She was in VGG Lab. Then currently she's in Koç University, and she was kind of complaining about her students because like she was teaching her students about bash scripting, I guess, about shell, and students were complaining and saying, "I'm already going to quit this department. I don't want it." Before that, I had a researcher from Ericsson, and she was also complaining about the mansplaining she endured during her course of career and everything. So like I'm actually giving a platform to people to also complain about things. So if you have anything to complain about, you can do.
Well, I would complain about training AI just for the sake of training an AI. I would only complain.
Totally.
Don't train AI for the sake of training an AI. That's my protest.
So like I have this book from Peter Norvig, Artificial Intelligence. You probably know it's legendary, I mean, and it includes the techniques that I actually learned in industrial engineering. I mean, it includes combinatorial optimization and other things that are not actually need training, but it is still in a way kind of AI because you are making decisions and everything. So I completely agree with you. If you can solve it with things like that, I mean, they're also searching through a search space and everything, but they are still good solutions. Anyway, it gives you.
Sometimes you just fit a polygon and then you've got the model. That's it.
Yeah. Totally. And like in techniques like that, you can actually explain things, but like people train a model just to like sound fancier than saying what they are doing. Like I'm basically teaching machines to do stuff. I really enjoyed talking to you, but I don't want to
Me
take
too.
much time of you. But we should definitely do it together sometime again, like in a year, so that I mean, I would really like to show you where I'm at because, like maybe I will find a mentor as well, like you.
Oh,
Maybe
that would
I
be
will.
super
I
sweet.
will. I really want to, like, you really inspired me. I really want to, make something for the responsible and explainable AI. So we can also talk about that. I
Thank you,
really enjoyed
Merve.
this talk.
Thanks for inviting me to your show, and thank you very much for inspiring other people as well, and for all the documentation that you shared online, which is very useful for beginners and all people who wants to learn details about the machine learning AI. So I really enjoyed this talk and hope to speak to you again.
See ya. Bye bye.
Bye bye for now.